When I first discovered that this year's Earth Day theme was Planet versus Plastics, I knew immediately I had to talk to Sarah from Wonderlightly. Wonderlightly is a holistic skincare brand I am so honored to stock at Wild and Cruelty Free, and I am just so happy to have you here today, especially on Earth Day of all days. For anyone who's not familiar with your journey, can you please share a bit about what inspired you to go plastic free?
Absolutely. Firstly, thank you for having me on this auspicious day. My journey started 9 years ago. I went to Tonga on a yoga retreat, whale swim sort of extravaganza thing. And it was when we were there were sort of 9 people. We were going out on this boat, beautiful, natural, gorgeous surroundings. And we would sort of go onto these small little islands, which were not inhabited, and they were covered in plastic. Like along with the coral, etc., there were lightles and jandals or thongs, as they're called here, homes, all sorts of things that you knew hadn't been left there, that they'd come in on ocean currents. So I literally had this 2 a.m. or 4 a.m., I can't remember now, wake up moment. I woke up in the middle of the night. I thought, I have to stop using plastic for a year. I have to quit. And I guess my thought behind it was, I want to know how I can live without using so much plastic. And if I can share that information with other people to help it sort of seem a more tangible thing to do, then I wanted to do that. So that was in October of 2014.
Mm-hmm.
1st of January 2015, I started my plastic free year. So I sort of started, I probably wouldn't do it this way now, but I kind of got rid of all the plastic in my house. I got rid of all the packaging. Food packaging was a massive one, just to see, kind of have a start point of, okay, at the end of the year, I'm going to collect all the plastic I use. So I'm going to go and not use plastic, but if I do get it by accident, or sometimes you can't avoid it, I was going to collect it and see what I ended up with. And over the course of the year, I ended up with 2.5 kilos of plastic.
Wow.
All up. So that was my plastic usage for the year. So I'm not really sure what the norm would be. But essentially my year was, food was a huge one. And then the other one was skincare. That was a really big one for me. I've always been into natural and eating well and recycling, etc. But when it came to sort of beauty, I couldn't find, say, and the very first one was a natural deodorant that was natural, had clean ingredients, but wasn't housed in plastic. And I suppose at that time, the only thing that was available was an American brand that I found, and it was in plastic. So I thought, what if I made my own? So I did a bit of research and started to make my own, and that's kind of how my brand started, was from experimenting, and then I did some study and worked out formulations, etc., on how I could do it, and that's how it started, really.
I love that. And I think you're right. Like, I hate to imagine, for those who haven't measured their plastic consumption for a year, how much it could potentially be, because, just unknowingly, there is just so much, especially like you said, in food packaging. And there really is a huge amount of waste and plastic in the beauty industry. I see it every day, from things I receive in PR, just unnecessary things that you get, through to the product packaging itself. I'd love to know more about how you do things differently at Wonderlightly.
Yes. So it's really interesting. I like to consider end to end. So it's really important that the ingredients I choose are not only sort of ethically produced, so they're fair trade, all of that holistic sort of look at it, from how I'm receiving the raw material. So what sort of packaging that comes in. For example, my shea butter comes in a plastic tub, so I try and buy in bulk. So then I've got a plastic tub that can be reused at the very least for other things. So right from the beginning, right through, what sort of packaging am I using? Is it mindful? Can it be repurposed? What sort of labeling am I using? If I put this label on it, does it mean that the package can be recycled or not? And another really important one I do, and it's a tricky one, because you want your product to look beautiful, but also you want your product to be either reused or accessible to recycling. I don't double package. So I have like a, for example, a bottle, but I don't put it in a second box. And the reason for that is that as soon as you get home, you're taking it out of that second box, and most likely it's going into the bin, albeit the recycling, but that's still energy production that's gone into producing that box for that small amount of time to take up sort of shelf space, really. So looking at the end-to-end process, one of the other things I like to look at is I like to keep, in terms of low tox, keep my products free from preservatives. So what that means is I don't put water in my products. So as soon as you introduce water, you have to introduce preservatives. So keeping my ingredients to as minimal as possible also helps to keep my footprint low. So I just put in what's needed. I don't sort of put in lots of fillers and things that I don't understand ingredients where they've come from.
That's awesome. And I can also just from my own experience, that has not in any way impacted the effectiveness of your products. Like, I love using your serums, your hyaluronic acid. I've just got the new Naked Balm to try, which I'm so excited to get started on. And yeah, I'm just really, I guess, inspired by you and those steps that you've taken, because even though it's using less, it doesn't necessarily mean it's an easier road to take. It's a more thoughtful and considered road. And yeah, I love everything you've done. And you actually inspired me when I started my business, because when it came to sending out my orders, I always think, okay, well, I know I have a few branded things, but what else can I parcel the products in so they're protected? And anything I receive now from other other brands or other deliveries, I keep and I put aside. I have a huge stash. I'm sure you do too.
Yep.
And whether it is a bit of bubble wrap, then I'm like, you know what? This will just protect one glass bottle from potentially getting damaged. The paper that's stuffed in there, I keep all of that and reuse it now for orders, because I'm like, there's nothing wrong with it. Why not give it a little more life?
Absolutely. And that's something I think that, I do. I'm sitting right beside my stash of reused paper. And the whole time I've run my business, I've not ever had to buy packaging to, protect items, because it's always come with other things. So I can put it to the side, repurpose it. And it's really great to hear that what I'm repurposing mine in, you're also then giving another life. So it's getting several lives, which I love.
Yeah, I can only hope that then the next person will potentially keep it or, use it for something else. But it makes me feel good knowing that, yeah, we've continued that chain along for that one piece of packaging.
Yeah, that the life cycle of that piece of paper is so much more extended, because recycling takes effort and energy and resources, and it's also had energy and resources to create it as well. So if we can use it more, then awesome.
Absolutely. A lot of your products also come in biodegradable packaging, which is great, like your deodorant, the body bar stick. And have you heard or experienced any misconceptions when it comes to biodegradable beauty?
Absolutely. It's really interesting. And I guess when especially when I see products on the shelf, and there's a lot of products under the shelf that look as though they're in paper packaging. And just because it looks like something, it might not be, a little bit of wolf in sheep's clothing, I suppose. A lot of paper tubes still need to be lined with plastic. The lining that I use is a plant-based lining. And when I did a lot of research when I moved from, I was using aluminium tins, and I just wanted something that was just a little bit more user-friendly in terms of a deodorant stick and easy application, a little bit less dipping fingers in bacteria, etc. So I spent a lot of time looking for something that was plant-based. I got samples. I then did my own research, and I made sure that I could put them in the garden and dug them up, and it was all gone. You can pop them in your worm farm. They don't just need to be recycled. You can pop them in a hole in the ground. But there are a lot that firstly still have a laminate lining on the outside. So it's that by laminate, it's a very small, thin piece of plastic that just protects the layer of the label.
Right.
None of mine have a laminate finish on them. The downside for my product of that is that over time, the label looks worn, but I also know it can be recycled, and I'm happy for it to look slightly worn. And also too, my customers are as well, as far as I know. Yeah,
Well,
so there's a lot of greenwashing around.
Absolutely.
Mm,
And I think even just for it to look a bit worn, it's just a sign of something that's well loved, well used.
yeah,
And I know exactly what you mean now by that. It almost looks like a plastic film that is around it that
yes,
kind of gives it a bit of a glossy tint kind of
yes,
thing. Right.
yeah.
So that's something
Um,
people should look out for.
Absolutely. You know, if you are looking for packaging, look at the back and see. Most companies that have done their research will be really pleased to make claims of, you know, this is X, Y, Z or whatever. And if it doesn't have it on it, maybe it's not. You
Mm,
can always contact the company too and question them and ask them, you know, is this recyclable? Is it biodegradable?
mm.
Um, Degradable is a real buzzword, but degradable means it'll just break up into small pieces, not actually degrade into nothing. So that's really sort of um, it's a good one to keep in mind. Mm.
Absolutely. I think people are becoming more aware of that, but I think, yeah, any additional help or resources that they can get just to kind of get their
Mm.
head around it. Because, like you said, greenwashing is such a huge thing, especially in the beauty industry. So every little bit counts.
Yeah, and I think it's quite trendy to sort of be sustainable or X, Y, Z rather than is this company truly wanting to put out a product that is, you know, good for us and the planet and
Mm.
follows, you know, ticks a lot of those boxes.
Yeah,
Mm.
absolutely. And like you said, I think if a brand is truly proud that they've been able to tick those boxes and they've worked towards that model in their business, then they will scream it from the rooftops. For me, it's the ones who are kind of, I don't know, putting it under the radar or not being very clear or transparent. That's where my like red
Yeah.
flags start to come in. I'm like,
Yeah.
what is this?
Actually, I think transparency is such a key word. Like people will be proud to say, this is how our product is produced.
Mm,
And I'm really proud to say this is where, you know, these are where my products come from and how they're produced.
yeah.
Yeah.
When you're not formulating your range, you hold workshops to help
Mm.
people understand how to reduce waste and reduce their plastic footprint. What are three things perhaps people could do today to reduce their plastic intake?
This is a good one. Um, I think when we're thinking about skincare,
Mhm.
um, when we think about skincare, I would say keep it simple. We have a lot of different things like XYZ, and this goes across the board through your kitchen cleaning. We're told we need this product for this and this product for this product for this. When I sort of started my journey, I had a lot of things,
Mm,
and now I literally have 2 or 3 items that I use. You know, I want to make sure that if I'm using it on my body, I could use it on my face and vice versa. Um, Keeping it really simple. When I do my workshops, and we're talking about bathroom and skincare, one of the things I get my participants to do is to go home and do an audit of your bathroom cupboard.
mm,
Pull everything out. What have I got? You've probably got 3 or 4 of the same thing. Use them all up before you buy more because you know you look at it and it might have expired. It may still be good,
mm,
but using what we have, keeping it simple, and if there's things you're not going to use, maybe you know family members might be able to use it or community groups. There's a lot of community groups around like Share the Dignity where you've got things that perhaps unopened. They might accept those to be able to pass on to other people.
mm.
Um, and then when you are buying new items, you know, support those smaller businesses and those smaller companies and the ones that are transparent and the ones that you can see are doing right by the planet
Mm.
and yourself essentially.
Yeah,
Mm,
absolutely. I think that's a great point. Like, and that was one of the main values when I started Wild and Cruelty Free too. It was to be a curated collection of products. Like, we don't
mm,
need to have everything, even though the
mm,
media and social media and everyone's telling us we need all the things. We really
mm,
don't. And
mm,
you can easily curate a really beautiful and effective skincare routine or makeup routine or cleaning collection that doesn't cost the earth. It's going to last and works. And
mm.
yeah, you're not contributing to waste by just having an excessive amount of products that you're not going to use or potentially will expire before you can even get to them.
Absolutely. And with that, you're also saving so much money,
Yeah.
you know, because you're not sort of going out and buying the new $50 moisturizer or whatever.
Mm.
Um, yeah. Mm.
Do you see when you do the workshops and you speak to people, do you see some consistent challenges that people face when they are in that process of doing the switch, or are most pretty on once they've made the choice, they're like, okay, I'm committed, I'm on board, I really want to yeah, start this plastic-free life?
I think what a lot of people, I think a lot of the challenge that a lot of people have, a lot of people do have is they want to be 100% plastic free, or they want to be XYZ. And then if they can't, then they sort of feel like they've let themselves down. I think, I mean, the workshops I run, I call them imperfect low waste living.
Mm.
So one day you might be amazing, and the other day you didn't have time or something happened, so you couldn't do that plastic free thing, or, but if we're aiming to be as low waste as possible, then that's so much better than not even thinking about it. So yeah, I guess striving for perfection would probably be the answer to that, and not being too hard on yourself, doing what you can do with the energy and time and resources that you have. Like, not everyone has accessibility to this stuff, so what can you do with what you have?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Like, progress over perfection. Like,
Mm,
to be honest, no one's going to be perfect at everything.
mm,
I've faced that myself as I've kind of gone on my vegan journey. At first, I was trying to be so strict and so rigid in every single thing. And I kind of learned over time that it's not always possible. As much as
yeah,
I will try my very best, but it's not
yeah,
always going to be possible. Or, yeah, it's just nothing's perfect. And so, like you said, not
absolutely.
to be hard on yourself as you kind of go through that journey as well.
Yeah. And I think once you kind of understand that concept, you can take those small things that you're doing, like it might be, storing your food in a particular way to save a little bit of food waste. And once you've sort of, got the knack of that, then you can master something else. So it's about creating really lasting habits rather than just, okay, I'm going to do this week, and then, oh, it got really hard, so I've fallen off the wagon with that. It's just
Mm.
creating small changes that end up being really lasting habits.
Yeah,
Mm.
that's so true. And yeah, you're right. It's more of a habit that just needs to be a muscle that needs to be flexed to become a sustainable habit that then just becomes second nature and you don't even think anything of it.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Mm.
So, as a successful businesswoman yourself, if would you have any advice for anyone who's either an entrepreneur looking to start a new business and create new
Mm.
innovative products that would tread more lightly on the earth and not contribute to waste or plastic consumption?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think, and it's funny, I was speaking to a friend the other day who was saying she was starting a business, and she started telling me all this research she'd done before she had the product, about how it was going to be sustainable and ethical. And I just loved hearing her saying, well, I've got this product, but there's all these things I've done too, and I need it to be this before I even really start getting that business off the ground. So researching what your product is, and doing that background stuff first.
Mm.
I mean, I suppose when I started my business, it just kind of rolled as that's what I was sort of doing anyway. Like, I was looking for the, organic XYZ. So yeah, really researching and considering what you're doing. Um, the beauty industry is a really busy industry. It's very competitive. It's a pretty hard one to be in terms of being noticed.
Mm.
Um, but I mean, I still stand quite firm in the fact that I love what I do, and I know what I'm doing is helpful,
Mhm.
and it's also a good product. So yeah, backing yourself,
Yeah.
backing
And I
yourself,
think,
doing your research. Yeah.
well, everything like you've just said, it really does shine through your products, your passion, your commitment, the love you put into it. And I
Mm,
think, like you mentioned earlier, like doing your research, not only when it comes to like the packaging, but the ingredients, like, are they fair trade? Are they
mm,
certified organic? Like, where are they coming from? And what
yes,
is then the knock-on effect of who is harvesting those ingredients? How are they treated? Like, there's
yes.
so many pillars to this that I think the consumer doesn't necessarily consider at the time of purchase, but as an entrepreneur or brand founder, so important to consider if you're going to be creating something new and contributing something new to the market.
Absolutely. And I think whatever you're doing, whatever that product is or idea you have, you want it to be putting something new that's going to contribute in a
Mm,
in a really positive way, and not just become another fad or another product sitting in the back of a bathroom cabinet, you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
Yeah.
We've already got too many of those.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah,
Well,
less clutter, less
oh,
anxiety around all that stuff. Mm,
that's the thing, just having that stuff just takes up so much space, not only like within your physical space, but just the mental clutter as well. And it's like, nope, just clear it out, just
yeah,
stick to what you need.
yeah. I know when I travel, just as a side note, and I pack my toilet bag, I'm literally putting 3 or 4 things in, and then my toothbrush and toothpaste, and it's just it's easy, it's light, it's I don't, there's not much. Your basics, your moisturizer, a sunscreen, maybe some makeup. My makeup, as I was looking at it earlier, I was like, this mascara I've probably had a little bit too long, but I think about it. I only use like 3 or 4 things. I just keep it really simple.
I need to
Mm.
take a leaf out of your travel packing notebook because on my recent trip, I literally took probably
Oh,
about 10 to 15 different things because I'm like, oh, just in case. Oh,
yeah.
as if I
I know
was
I do
going
that
somewhere
too.
that didn't have shops.
Yeah. I often do that with clothing, and I think I've only worn a quarter of what I took with me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's always the
Mm,
way. Well,
mm,
thank you so, so much for joining us today, especially on Earth Day of all days. I really appreciate your time and your
mm.
commitment to our collective mother. I just adore what you do and yeah, continuously inspired by you. So thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me, and thank you for your support and what you do.
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah, I remember when I first discovered your range through the Clean and Conscious Awards.
Mm,
And yeah, it's just like when you find something that not only works, but it's just ticking all your moral boxes as well, you just know you're onto a
mm.
good thing. So no, I've loved supporting you.